Hi, this is Dave Lehive. I'm an IAM communications representative for the Machinists Union. And as a host on today's video segment, I'd like to welcome our viewers to our first conversation. This will be a series of conversations with Delta workers and IAM representatives to better communicate, inform, and educate Delta workers on issues related to the unionization process. I'd like to welcome today's panel and ask that they introduce themselves. Brother Dan, can you begin?
Hi, my name is Dan McCurdy, and I'm a Delta ramp employee in Minneapolis. I've been with the company for 25 years. I was pre-merger Northwest, so I was represented by the IAM for approximately half of my career, and then we transitioned to Delta, and so half my career has been without representation. So just working here in Minneapolis and around the system to get that representation that Delta employees deserve back.
Sister Amanda, please introduce yourself.
Absolutely. I would just like to piggyback off of Dan. I've been here as an employee in Minneapolis for Delta Airlines, pre-merger Northwest for over 25 years, certified union organizer since 2007. And we're here just to help try to do the work that is necessary to try to get us unionized again.
Great. Finally, Sister Connie, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you for having me. I am an associate general counsel, and I'm super excited to be here and honored to be here with the distinguished Delta organizers, Dan and Amanda, and all of the Delta workers in their fight to improve their working conditions. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's get started. Reports are coming in that Delta management and their high-priced union-busting attorneys have their campaign to dissuade Delta workers from seeking a union representation election is in full gear. Amanda or Dan, what are some of the things that you are seeing in the workplace regarding this?
Well, I'll start out with just a couple of things, like mostly like questions, so maybe you guys can answer that. And a lot of things we're hearing that the employees aren't sure if they can sign an actual A card. And if they sign an A card, will they be fired for signing an A card? And the material that the IAM put out, are they allowed to, look at the material, read the material, and how much material that they can have on their personal property? So that is a big issue right now, is just getting clarification and understanding of the rights of the workers and what they can do. But signing an A card is one of the biggest things that is frightening a lot of even our older people, our new people, and to get answers to that would be really great.
Dan?
Things that I see Delta doing is new hire classes. Anytime new hires come in, they get them in a room and they tell them why they believe a union is bad. And while these new hires, I don't know how captive it is, but if you're a new hire, you obviously don't feel like you can tell your employer that you don't want to be a part of this and leave. So I'm just curious how far they can go with captive audience meetings.
Okay, hey, so Connie, can you explain what Delta management and their agents can and cannot do during Delta employees' effort to seek union representation, and what Delta workers' rights are during this process?
This is an excellent question, Dave. And first, I'd just like to take the opportunity to congratulate Delta workers for kicking off a really historical campaign. And pertaining to that question in particular, an unfortunate reaction to a great organizing campaign is when management begins their anti-union activity. And of course, this is not the time to pull back on your organizing efforts, but rather it's the time to really stay the course. And so with that being said, I want to make sure that Delta workers know what law gives them the right to form a union and negotiate a contract. And airline workers' rights to form a union fall under the federal act called the Railway Labor Act, also known as the RLA. And initially, this act supported railroad workers' rights to form a union and was later expanded to include the airlines. And it's the National Mediation Board that is the governing body that enforces your rights under this act. So let's talk about the rights, some of the things that you guys just mentioned, what kind of rights Delta workers have. And what you mentioned initially, Amanda, the right to authorize a union representation. That's their right to sign those authorization cards and to also ask others to sign authorization cards. Our Delta workers have a right to do that in the workplace. Delta employees also have the right to attend union meetings on their own time and to ask others to attend union meetings, and to be free from retaliation for doing so. Delta workers also have the right to wear a union pin or a sticker demonstrating that they support the union. Delta workers also have the right to hand out union flyers and leaflets, which is what you mentioned earlier. It should be done on their own time and in non-work areas and break rooms, but nonetheless, they have the right to have those leaflets, to read those leaflets at the work site. It just needs to be done on their own time. Delta workers also have the right to assist and encourage others to support the union, and that could be by way of work site meetings and one-on-one conversations, so long as it does not interfere with work and does not violate in some way their company policy. So these are the important rights that we want to encourage Delta workers to both practice and share with their coworkers during the organizing drive. And so now I'm going to talk a little bit about what Dan mentioned about what management should not be doing during an organizing drive. They definitely should not be soliciting or accepting authorization cards or ballots during the election period from Delta workers. They shouldn't be polling or surveilling employees, organizing activities, including whether an employee has signed an authorization card, supports the union, or how they voted. That is not management's business. They should not terminate or discipline or even threaten to terminate or discipline employees for supporting the union. This is often rare. However, if it does occur, it's something that is completely unlawful, and we need to know about it and address it immediately. Likewise, promising employees promotions and raises or other benefits in exchange for voting against the union is not appropriate by management. And this kind of speaks to a little bit of what you said earlier, Dan, about the new employee orientations. Management shouldn't be forming committees or having employees go to meetings where they are discouraging people from supporting or joining the union. That can also be considered unlawful contact, and that's not something that should be happening during a new employee orientation, once the organizing campaign is kicked off. In addition, sharing inaccurate or misleading information about union elections or preventing employees from participating in an election can also be considered unlawful. So one thing I do want to mention, because you'll notice what I said management shouldn't do, and that is just because the law makes something or conduct unlawful by management doesn't mean that they won't do it, right? So the important thing that I'd like folks to really take away from what I've just shared is that if there is a concern that management is interfering with their organizing campaign, they should definitely report this to our IAM representative so that they can help them with identifying what the potential violation could be. It's also equally important to document. I can't say this enough as an attorney. And we call this the 5 W's, the who, what, where, when, and why, so that we have strong facts to build our case. We have interference forms that are available on the Delta campaign website so that our workers can document these incidences. And so I hope some of this information was helpful for empowering our Delta workers to assert their rights during the organizing campaign. And Delta workers should know that IAM representatives have their back. Dave, just one more thing that I would like to clarify. Similarly, for authorization cards, when you're signing authorization cards, those should be done on the employee's own time and in break rooms or while on break and not during their work hours.
So great information, Connie. Would anyone like to respond to or have any follow-up questions to Connie?
Connie, I've got one quick question for you. I'm curious, where are we allowed to discuss unionization, and where should we get the cards signed? Is there rules to that?
So in responding to the first about the location, so you can have union conversations, learn about the union, educate members about the union through worksite meetings and things like that on your own time and in break rooms. But you can have regular conversation about the union, about people's issues, about what's important to them, the same way that you would have conversation about people's family, the weather, or sports. So you can engage in those conversations during work time. If you're going to hold some sort of like formal union meeting around the union, then you would want to do that on your own time in the break rooms. But a regular union conversation can be done just in any regular conversation that you would have at work.
Thank you very much, Connie. That was a great answer to those concerns. So before we close out this segment today, Dan or Amanda, would you like to give a closing message to your fellow Delta Fleet Service workers?
As I was just thinking here as we were talking, there's just three, as you mentioned, the W's, there were three H's that came into mind. And I want to put high emphasis on this here. I want the workers to know that we hear you, we've heard you, we're here to help you. So help us, help all of us come together, and we can do that.
Yeah, this union organizing drive is from Honolulu to to San Juan, Puerto Rico. So it's the world's largest union organizing drive, and we can make a good place to work, a great place to work. And let's negotiate a union industry leading contract. And we look forward to working with you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. I really appreciate speaking to you and allowing everyone to hear about the concerns that you have at Delta. And thank you, everyone, for joining. And Delta Ramp, we will see you next time.